You all know what time it is, man. It is UFC 327 fight week, and this Saturday, going down in the MIA in Miami, Florida, the light heavyweight title is up for grabs. Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. How nice of Poatan Pineda to vacate the light heavyweight title, give Jiri Prochazka an opportunity to get his belt back. Ah, man, I'm terrified for Jiri. I'm just going to cut to the chase, man. I am absolutely terrified because, you know, when you get to fight week, you're like, man, Jiri by KO, man. Jiri by KO. And why are we picking Jiri by KO? Well, we really like Jiri. We see Jiri battle adversity. We see him herky and jerkying around in his, wild style. He's doing, all sorts of wild stuff. And, it's Jiri, man. And it's kind of the same path that everyone sees of, Jiri's going to be losing until he isn't, and Carlos Ulberg is going to break to the pressure, and Jiri Prochazka is just going to land a massive missile and get him out of there. And I hope that's what happens. But you know how fight week goes, man. You make your pick, and you're like, you start watching more film. You watch that Carlos Ulberg KO over Dominic Reyes, and then you're like, and you just hope that doesn't happen to Jiri Prochazka. Because I don't think that this fight's going the distance. I don't think it's going the distance. I think someone is getting knocked the heck out. Now, I did pick Jiri Prochazka to win this fight, and I am picking Jiri to win this fight. But I'm really worried, man, because it sounds so much simpler than what it is. Oh, well, Jiri's just going to eat the leg kicks of Carlos Ulberg. He's just going to eat them. He's going to eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, man, But is he? Because when his leg starts to bother him and then Ulberg starts to set up the shots upstairs, Ulberg's peppering, baiting Jiri into these exchanges, and he's sliding out of range like that surgical, tactical sniper that he is, and he lands a sharp-shooting counter on Jiri Prochazka. Is Jiri just going to eat these Carlos Ulberg, missiles like he's eating shots from other people? Because the only losses from Jiri Prochazka throughout his career in the UFC are to Alex Pineda. And no, I don't think Carlos Ulberg is Poatan Pineda. I think Poatan Pineda is one of these fighters that does a tremendous job of hiding his offense to where there's essentially no telegraph in what he's doing. And Poatan respected the power of Jiri, basically played a lot on the back foot, waiting for Jiri to come to him. So while Poatan Pineda is, I think, a better striker and far more dangerous than Ulberg, that doesn't mean that Carlos Ulberg is not a high-level striker and a guy that could essentially implement a very similar strategy in this fight. So why I'm worried is because I don't want to see Jiri get knocked out, man. I don't want to see it. Do I want to see Carlos Ulberg get knocked out? It doesn't bother me as much, man. I like Carlos Ulberg. I like both of these guys, but let's be real, man. We all want Jiri to win. The only people rooting for Ulberg are friends and family. Right? I'm joking, but maybe, right? I like Carlos Ulberg. I think he's a very good fighter. We're going to break down this fight. I'm going to kind of outline how I see this one going down. We'll take a look at their resumes and really what they've accomplished so far in the UFC and how it all pertains to this fight, because I'm worried for Jiri, man. I'm worried about Jiri in this fight because while Jiri Prochazka has, I'd say, the most devastating KO power in this weight class, he is very hittable, leans into his durability, his unorthodox style, which actually might favor him in this fight against a tactical, precise type of striker in Carlos Ulberg. But it's also the same reason that it could get him in a ton of trouble against a guy like Ulberg. So first, let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Jiri Prochazka, 32-5-1 as a pro. Carlos Ulberg, 14-1. And in that loss, he was beating the heck out of Kennedy and Nzechukwu, emptied the gas tank, had nothing left, and Nzechukwu was able to get him out of there, and I believe that was Ulberg's debut. So take that one with a grain of salt. Jiri Prochazka is going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. He's got to use it in this fight, man. But what we've seen from Jiri is a guy that doesn't always fight the best behind his range. He kind of lunges in, but we have seen Yuri's head movement get a lot better. We saw it in the Jamal Hill fight. We saw it in the Khalil Roundtree fight. But I'm telling you, man, I feel like a lot of people that are picking Jiri and rooting for Jiri in this fight are overlooking Ulberg in a sense, man. Like, Carlos Ulberg is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Now, I would say Jiri does have the power advantage in this fight. He's got heat-seeking missiles in his hands. He's got sneaky kicks that he uses as well. He'll pry those front kicks to the body. He'll go southpaw, rip the kick to the body as well. Right, and I would say that he is a more powerful overall guy than Carlos Ulberg. Right, and we've seen that Jiri Prochazka, he's essentially been the opposite of Izzy Adesanya, right? The new age Adesanya is he looks really good until he doesn't. To where Jiri Prochazka has essentially been the opposite of he's not looking good until he isn't, right? Jiri Prochazka, I'm not saying that he's getting the doors blown off him in these fights, but he's getting outscored. He's getting touched up. Things aren't looking good. And then eventually starts to melt his opponent and then find that knockout shot and get him out of there. To where Carlos Ulberg, he's just a smooth operator in there. He's just sticking and moving, playing it very smart, sitting on the back foot, moving forward, kind of giving you all these feints, active lead hand, moving it around, touching you with the jab, firing the right hand. And what he's really trying to do is you see him wave that lead hand around. He's going to try to bait Jiri in and try to set up that left hook just like Pereira did. Because when Jiri lunges in, his hands are down, which is, part of his style to where these shots are coming from unique angles. It's hard to pick up on them. But Carlos Ulberg has a very, very, very good check hook that he likes to throw. But he does get a little bit spammy with it. And I can see if he tries to throw that, Jiri could catch and step in and beat him to the punch with a nasty straight shot down the middle. We've seen Jiri do that time and time again. But what we've seen from these guys, Jiri Prochazka, the more devastating finisher up to this point, but Carlos Ulberg, again, a guy that can pull you into his counter shots. And if Jiri gets overly aggressive, that can play right into Jiri's strength, but also right into the possibility of Carlos Ulberg catching him and knocking him out. And we've seen both of these guys. They're very, very good on the offensive side when it comes to the striking. I would say that Jiri Prochazka's head movement has looked really good recently, but Carlos Ulberg is one of these hit and not get hit style of strikers where Jiri gets into the pocket and you will see that elusive movement, but we've seen that he takes a lot of damage. He is the guy that gets hit a lot more. We'll see if that holds up in this fight. When it comes to the grappling, I think if there is any advantage if the fight hits the floor, I think it might favor Jiri, at least when it comes to the jiu-jitsu game. But overall, both guys, especially Ulberg, his takedown defenses look spectacular. Jiri Prochazka's takedown defense is okay. So I don't think we see much grappling in this fight. I think it's going to play out on the feet. But when we take a look at Carlos Ulberg, 14-1 as a pro, 8 wins by KO, 1 by sub, 7 first-round finishes. So out of all of these finishes that we're seeing from Ulberg, 7 of them are coming in the first round. And Carlos is a guy that I was watching prior to the UFC, right? In King of the Ring, training at CKB. He's a very high-level striker. Very, very educated on the feet. He's patient, he's tactical, and he does not rush his offense. And he plays that game very similar to what you see from Navajo Sterling. Very similar to what you see from Adesanya. On the back foot, kind of giving you these feints, not going to get overzealous early, right? I know you see all these finishes, but a lot of that is, he got a read early on Dominic Reyes, was able to get him out of there. But those other finishes are usually guys I feel so intimidated by the tactical approach that Ulberg has that they try to get in his face, they try to walk him down because they know they're going to get out kickboxed. And so they get overly aggressive, and then you just walk right into Carlos Ulberg's counter, and he is able to put you away. And what we've seen from Ulberg throughout his career, man, this is a guy that will absolutely shred your legs. He's got a nasty calf kick. And I expect him to attack the lead legs of Jiri Prochazka because what that's also going to do is not only hinder the movement of Jiri, but is going to make him worry about that to where he could potentially set up a head kick. We saw Poatan do the same exact thing. Like, again, we see some comparisons with Poatan and Ulberg because they are high-level strikers, but yet again, very different style of strikers. I'm not saying Ulberg is Poatan, but when you're Ulberg and you're his camp, right, Eugene Behrman, CKB, they are going to sit down and take notice of all of these little habits that Jiri has. And when you start to butcher the lead leg of Jiri, even though Joe Rogan will be like, oh, that calf's dead, man, he can't move on it, can't put any weight on it. And literally, we've never seen Jiri Prochazka basically stop due to leg kicks. Right? They clearly bother him. And the way that you know they start to bother Jiri is he gets hit with one and he kind of grimaces a little bit and he starts to reach a little bit to where that is potentially where Ulberg can set something up upstairs with a head kick. But he will absolutely butcher your legs. He will butcher your legs. And the problem in this fight as well for Jiri is Ulberg's the kind of guy where he has no problem pressing the action safely, but he also has no problem sitting on the outside, sticking and moving and not putting himself in the line of fire. And he'll just chip away with a jab and leg kicks all day long. He'll play that game. It'll make you come to him. And I think that he's going to set those traps to butcher the leg of Jiri, get him to chase, and that is where Ulberg is going to look to set up his counter shots, man, because what we've seen from Ulberg, he is a very, very accurate striker and a guy that when he lands, there are serious consequences because of the power and precision and timing that Ulberg has. It's not that he has this crazy one-shot starching power, but it's the precision and the accuracy and the way that he's able to create these angles and hit you, man. This guy's dangerous. We saw that against Dominic Reyes. Now, to be fair, Dominic Reyes is one of the chinniest fighters in the UFC, and he's fighting on this card in the chin battle against Johnny Walker, to where we might get a double KO in that fight because both of those guys' chins are horrible, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, he has a bad chin, but the way that Ulberg set that knockout up, I mean, that was filthy, man. That was absolutely filthy. It looked like he was in the Matrix. Boom, stung him with the jab, angled off, bang, and then hit him with a right hand. Like, Carlos Ulberg is a slick sharpshooter, man. He is a true sniper on the feet. And he's a guy that comes in very, very well prepared. He knew Dominic Reyes is a southpaw, right? If you throw that left hook right over the shoulder, a little bit harder for Reyes to see. Knows Reyes is very, very basic. He's got a powerful left hand that's very straight down the pipe, a big old body kick or head kick, and Ulberg was just getting easily out of range. So what we see from that fight is, yes, he shredded Dominic Reyes, and is Reyes the same guy he was a few years ago? We could sit up here and talk about how he isn't, but it's the fact that Ulberg wasn't just a guy that went in there and countered Reyes. It was how prepared and smart he was in the way that he went after Dom. He was prepared for everything. So again, he's going to be very prepared for what Jiri is going to bring to the table. Now, granted, Jiri, very unorthodox. It seems like we see a new trick from him in every single fight. But Ulberg is already going to have these countering ideas in his head of how he is going to come after Jiri Prochazka. I'm sure they've been drilling it all camp long, and then going out there having the tit-for-tat battle with Jan Blachowicz. But again, hard to look good against Jan, man. We've seen some of the best strikers, the best fighters in the world that literally are out there running through everybody, looking like the greatest thing we've ever seen on the feet. Like, look at Pineda, look at Adesanya, right? Magomed Ankalaev, like some of the best fighters, man, and they struggle with Jan Blachowicz. Carlos Ulberg, same thing. Like, Ulberg was able to pick and poke and get it done, but again, it never looks convincingly clean against Jan because of how powerful and how defensively responsible Jan Blachowicz is. So always take this one with a grain of salt, a win over Jan Blachowicz, given how, tough Jan is to deal with. And then the way he was able to beat Volkan Oezdemir, was not able to finish him, right? And that's kind of what we've seen from Carlos Ulberg in some of the top competition. We know that Reyes has almost no durability whatsoever. But again, it was the way that counter was set up. And I think if he lands that on Jiri, it's a good chance he's knocking him out. Right, but wasn't able to get Blachowicz out of there. We know Blachowicz is historically very durable. Was beaten up on Volkan Oezdemir, didn't get him out of there, but again, was landing some massive shots and shredding him on the feet. Alonzo Menafield, like I said, this is where we're getting into the, I just feel like Menafield was like, man, I got to bum rush this guy. I got to surprise him because if I just let him sit at range, he's just going to shred me. So kind of a, idiotic approach from Menafield, but the more I think about it and I've thought about it, as I've been breaking down Ulberg's fights, kind of makes sense. What's Menafield going to do? Sit on the outside and try to land an overhand right? Ulberg's just going to just be way too slick and way too fast, man. So I think that's what Menafield thought was, I'll just bum rush him and surprise him. Didn't work out. Got caught very easy. Knocked out or submitted Jung. Was able to knock out Potieria. So the thing with Ulberg is his strength of schedule is not exactly the strongest, right? He's putting guys out. Nice check hook. In the Tafon and Chikui fight, right? Going out there, finishing, or almost finishing. Charant was putting him in some trouble. Again, Ulberg not opening it up a ton. And then was beating up on Kennedy and Nzechukwu until he got tired and then got put away again. That was his UFC debut. Carlos Ulberg's made great improvements, man. He's a tactical striker on the feet. He's got nasty power in his hands. He's got really, really good leg kicks to where I think that's going to be a big weapon for him in this fight. Attack the lead legs of Jiri Prochazka, front kicks to the body, and then eventually look to set up some head kicks as well. But it's going to be about Ulberg really looking for that 1-2 where he angles off and lands that right hand like we saw against Dominic Reyes, especially if Jiri slips and switches and goes southpaw. That's where Ulberg really starts to play with his opponents as well, as when they go southpaw. He'll try to hide that hook right around that lead shoulder. And, man, I'm telling you, Ulberg's for real, man. This guy is very, very good. He's got a very good check hook, tends to spam it a little bit, and it's a little bit easier to see than Poatan Pineda, right? Ulberg throws it very traditional to where Poatan's, his elbows are glued. So when he throws that hook, it just kind of shoots out and there's no telegraph on it whatsoever. And that's what makes Poatan so special, is there's no telegraph in any of his movements whatsoever. And with Ulberg, there's a little bit more of a tell, but he's so fast and so slippery as a light heavyweight, it's very hard to pick up on. So I think Ulberg, batter the legs of Jiri just like everybody else has been able to do, rip the shots to the body, get those hands to come down, get him to overextend, get him worried that he's falling behind. He's going to try to put the foot on the gas, and that is where Ulberg is going to be able to slide out of range and find that counter shot and possibly knock out Jiri Prochazka. That's how I see Ulberg winning this fight. Maybe he could go out there and out kickbox Jiri for 25 minutes, but I just don't think that that's how this fight goes down, man. I think this would be Ulberg kind of going out there and really putting on a clinic. Like that's how I feel. Going out there, touching and moving, putting on a clinic, and it's like, man, he's just too slick for Jiri. And then the next thing you know, Jiri gets overly aggressive. Boom, he's going to catch him and knock him out. That's how I see it going down if Carlos Ulberg gets the job done. And then when we talk about Jiri Prochazka, just a true storm, man, a true hurricane, a guy that is, 28 wins by KO, 3 by submission, 23 first-round finishes. And historically, Jiri's been one of these guys that is a super fast starter where he gets on you from the opening bell. At least that's kind of how it was early in his UFC career, to where as he's kind of climbed up through the rankings in the division and he's fighting these guys that are, more tactical strikers like a Roundtree, like a Poatan Pineda, right? He's Rakic, who I know isn't the most tactical, but he's got good leg kicks. Jiri has fallen behind early, right? Where we saw Jiri getting these early knockouts to where now the barometer has kind of shifted a little bit to where now Jiri is getting these later round KOs. So it's not to say that Jiri just can't come out there like a bat out of hell, do something weird, get in Ulberg's face and crack him and put him away. Like, Jiri has tremendous power, man. Like, tremendous power. To have Alex Pineda on the back foot, being very cautious, playing very defensive, having a very defensive kind of game, just trying to pull you into his shots. That's not always what we see from Alex, right? He's a guy that's usually on the front foot, dictating the pace moving forward. He was very reserved because he knew about the power of Jiri Prochazka and, again, was trying to pull him into those shots, getting him to overextend to then find a way to knock him out. But we know about Jiri. Very, very accurate with his shots, man. He's got good straight punches. Everything is very straight, very tight. Will throw good elbows and knees and throw very bizarre combinations, like things that are almost feel backwards, that don't really feel comfortable to you if you're hitting the pads, right? He'll do combinations that are like backwards, right? He'll throw like a leg kick and then a 3-2, and not that that's like weird, but it's almost like the traditional combinations. Jiri just like Rubik's cubes them up and then just throws them to where the timing is different. So guys start to get into that mode of defending, like, oh, I've seen this combination, boom, 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 and then Jiri throws something different and he's able to catch you. And the advantage that I think Jiri has in this fight that could possibly be his downfall is being too reckless and too all over the place. That might be the problem for Ulberg in this fight, is Carlos is a guy that likes when things are nice and pretty. Either guys just aggressively bum rush him with really no plan, like Alonzo Menafield, or you sit back like Dominic Reyes and you're moving around and Ulberg's got time to download, time to be all technical. Jiri can't allow him to do that. So while Jiri may get caught in the process, Jiri's going to have to get after him, because if he just allows Ulberg to sit at range and play the pick and poke pretty style of game, Jiri's just going to get picked apart in this fight and I think eventually KO'd, as I've said quite a few times. But Jiri Prochazka, a guy that's a little bit of a headhunter, doesn't do the greatest of job attacking the legs. I think that would be kind of wise to come after Ulberg, try to take away his base as well, because Ulberg, for a guy that has a kickboxing background, doesn't always do the best job checking kicks, right? We've seen that he's very leg kick defensively responsible, but you look at Jan Blachowicz, right? I know Jiri, not exactly a guy that's always out here throwing a bunch of leg kicks, but I think taking away the base of Ulberg, giving him something else to think about, distract him from the hands to where Jiri can step in and land one of those big power shots would be something that could possibly catch Ulberg off guard. And working the body, man. Like, Jiri Prochazka's got those good, quick little, it's almost instead of a teep or a push kick, it's just a quick little karate snap kick, just boom, right to the midsection. Doesn't feel like much, but a couple of those, man, and you're like, ooh, kind of soften them up my midsection a little bit, man. So I feel like Jiri Prochazka, don't headhunt so much in this fight, because if you're headhunting and Ulberg knows it, he is going to pull you into a shot. Ulberg, to me, is the much more calculated, smarter striker, if that makes sense. Like, while I think Jiri's like this storm, it's kind of, and I know Jiri's got good fight IQ to a degree, but I think that the guy that's going to come in very well prepared, seasoned, ready for what, the other is going to do, I give that advantage to Ulberg. But I think that that's where the chaos of Jiri Prochazka, being chaotic, being weird in there, as Jiri always can be, that is where he has the advantage, in my opinion, where he's very unpredictable, and that is going to possibly have Ulberg very reserved in this fight, because we've seen from Jiri Prochazka was able to stop Volkan Oezdemir, where if you want to play that game, right, Carlos Ulberg was not able to. That was a devastating knockout by Jiri. I think that was on Fight Island, if I'm not mistaken. That was crazy. He made his debut, man. I was like, I can't wait to see him in the UFC. Devastating knockout, right? Reyes was having some success early, but again, this was Reyes from 2021. Was able to land that nasty spinning elbow, put him away. That crazy war with Glover Teixeira, and I know, he got into a war with an older Glover, but Glover's a very good grappler, high-level grappler, and ran over Jan Blachowicz to win the belt. You know what I mean? So Glover still had a lot in the tank at this point in his career, right? And then Poatan Pereira is the only guy that's been able to beat him, right? And again, one of the most high-level, if not the most high-level striker we've ever seen come into MMA. One of the most high-level strikers ever, man. Like, Poatan has the touch of death, but it's also how he doesn't telegraph his shots. His calf kicks have no telegraph, and his head kicks have no telegraph either. He's a no-telegraph game with devastating power, high fight IQ. That sets Poatan apart from everybody else. So, okay, so you found your kryptonite. Is what it is. But again, this was a shorter notice for Jiri in this fight. The Rakic fight, getting his legs obliterated in round one. It was looking rough. It was looking bad. And I'm like, no, here it goes. And then Jiri, the samurai way, man, let's go for that. Just absolutely walks down Rakic, wills his way to victory, folds Rakic mentally, hits him with a massive shot, and gets him. He just broke him. And that's what Jiri has the ability to do. That's what he did to Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill actually looked decent in this fight, but Jiri Prochazka's head movement was on point. And the minute he hits flow state, it's over. And that's what happened in the fight. Jiri was able to get him out of there. Round 3 KO. Right, and then against Khalil Roundtree. Roundtree was looking really good. He's the more technically polished guy. Got the nasty Muay Thai, ripping good kicks. Kicks to the body. He was, sharp with the hands, exploding in and out of range. And I'm like, here goes Roundtree. Going to out-technique Jiri Prochazka. And then out of nowhere, Jiri makes our predictions look good by catching him with a massive shot and putting him out of there, man. And when you get cracked by Jiri, it's not like, oh, I'll just shake that off. It's like, oh, no, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. So we have the chaotic Jiri Prochazka, who's a devastating storm and finisher, versus the tactical sniper in Carlos Ulberg. This fight doesn't go the distance, man. That is my overall view of this fight, is it doesn't go the distance. Now, I do lean Jiri Prochazka to get this one done, but I've been saying before, I like both of these guys a lot. I mean, I think it would be great for the division to have Jiri Prochazka as the champ again. He's a massive fan. I mean, how can you not like Jiri Prochazka, man? And I think Carlos Ulberg's awesome as well. And people are like, well, Jiri Prochazka, it'd be good to have a younger guy in the division or whatever as the champ. Carlos Ulberg, it doesn't say his age on here, but he's older than Jiri Prochazka, actually, by like a couple years. So in terms of the fight mileage, maybe you could say Yuri's got more miles on him, but I think this is a great fight, man. You got the chaos of Jiri, the devastating power, the unpredictability versus the sharpshooting tactician and Carlos Ulberg, who's going to be trying to set Jiri up, walk him into traps, and be able to kind of use Yuri's fire against him. And it's going to be Jiri really trying to throw Ulberg off of his game. This is one of those fights where, yes, Jiri is a tactical striker, but in my opinion, he's got to make it he's got to make it ugly. He's got to make it dirty. He's got to make it weird in there to where Ulberg doesn't have a clean picture. Because if you allow Ulberg to have a clean picture, there's not many guys that are going to be able to beat him in just a straight, clean striking fight. So I think that Jiri comes into this. We've seen the sparring and the countdown. He was looking really sharp. His hands were up, his head movement, these exotic combinations that he's throwing. And I think it's just going to be one of those situations where Ulberg's going to be looking really good early. He's going to be peppering Jiri, beating up his legs, throwing shots to the body, picking him apart on the feet. And then Yuri's going to start to find his groove. You're going to see that pressure start to get there. You're going to see Jiri eat a shot from Ulberg. Maybe that's the problem and it puts him out. But if Jiri doesn't get put away, I think that he's a guy we've seen he's very durable. When he eats a shot, he kind of gets all into it, He kind of headbutts punches. I wouldn't be doing that in this fight. But I think that Jiri is going to start to build into this fight. I think he's going to start to make his reads. He's going to start to get into the pocket against Carlos Ulberg. He's going to start to get into that uncomfortable phone booth range to where we've seen Carlos can be good in the pocket, but that's an area where Jiri becomes very, very dangerous. Those spinning, the spinning attacks, the spinning elbows, the straight elbows in close. Jiri is a puzzle, man. He's very much a puzzle. right? Ulberg's going to know that when this guy tries to close me down, the hands are going to be down. He's going to maybe, he throws his shots. His hands are going to be down. That's where I can counter. It's a lot easier said than done. A lot easier said than done when Jiri Prochazka is switching stances, moving forward, throwing these shifting combos, and you get tagged with a big shot, man. Because when you get hit clean by Jiri, you're going out. You're going out or you're getting hurt really bad. And I think Jiri Prochazka is going to fight a very unorthodox fight because if it's too clean, it's going to favor Ulberg. And I think Jiri knows that. I think he knows that. I think it's going to look clean early, and then you're going to see Jiri start to really mix things up. He's going to start getting into the pocket, moving and grooving, making this more of a dirty type of fight. And when he could get to the inside and start to walk Ulberg along the octagon side, crush the space, and, extend this fight a little bit. It's not to say that Jiri couldn't catch him early, and it's not to say that, someone could get knocked out early or someone could get a late KO. I think all options are on the table, which is what makes this such a great fight. I think someone is getting KO'd, could be early, could be late. I think it's just a situation where Ulberg's going to be looking really, really sharp. We're going to be like, here he goes, outstriking him. And then eventually he may start to slow down, or he's not slowing down, and Jiri is just going to get into the pocket and land one massive shot. Because with Jiri, he does set things up, but it's really just kind of a chaotic shot that you don't see coming out of nowhere that ends up landing, catching you, and getting you out of there. Where Ulberg, it's very dependent upon setting it up, walking you into a trap, and kind of walking you in to your own undoing. So that's how I see this fight playing out. Hope this breakdown was good, man. I'm very excited for this fight. I'm all over the place, man. I'm excited for this fight. Very excited for this fight. Very high level, right? Ulberg, super fun fighter to watch, very talented. Hasn't fought the level of competition as Jiri, but again, can't hold that against fighters, man. Can't hold that against fighters because he now gets his opportunity. Vacant title against a fan favorite, a huge name in Jiri. Big opportunity for Carlos Ulberg. To me, feels a little bit kind of like a coin flip type of fight because I think someone's getting knocked out. It's just going to be a matter of, does Jiri's chaos outdo the technicalities and the sharpshooting of Carlos Ulberg? Because if this was just a straight kickboxing fight in the ring and gloves, it's like, oh, well, Ulberg, he's got the movement, he's got the tactician, right? That's kind of going to be rewarded there. But in MMA, in the smaller gloves, where there's a lot more holes, a guy like Jiri who's got this very unorthodox creative style, that is where we can see things really slip through and find a way to get guys out of there. But it does worry me, man, because Ulberg is very tactical. He's a sharpshooter, and if he hurts you, he's like a shark in the water that smells blood, just like Jiri. Both of these guys, if they sting you, man, they pounce on you and they will get you out of there. And I think Ulberg is a harder puncher than Roundtree. I think Jamal Hill is a hard puncher, but Ulberg will set it up better. So very dangerous fight for Jiri. Jiri fans that are like, Ulberg, we're just going to run him over. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be Jiri's going to be down and then he's going to have to battle back and get the KO, or it's going to be Ulberg is just going to outstrike him and set him up and knock him out. That's how I see this fight going. So, but I am going to go Jiri. I think in round 3, it's going to add up. The pressure is going to start to get to Ulberg, and we've seen Carlos Ulberg, if you intelligently, methodically pressure him, don't bum rush him like Alonzo Menafield, you'll get put away. But if you methodically, slowly start to chip away and get after him, and you don't go away like a lot of these other guys have, I don't think Jiri's going to go away, then you can do what kind of Jan Blachowicz did. You can walk forward, address the leg kicks, check some of the kicks of Ulberg, start to take away some of his confidence. I feel like that will help Jiri leaps and bounds, man. Intelligently pressuring Ulberg, starting to get him to melt as the fight plays out. If Ulberg slows down at any point in this fight, Jiri Prochazka will capitalize and get him out of there. I say that happens in round number 3. But we may get that Jiri Prochazka Undertaker moment, man, to where he basically gets clipped, dropped, the lights go out, we hear the commentary, the dead man has arrived. And then Jiri Prochazka pops up like the Undertaker, lands a nasty shot, and gets Ulberg out of there. I'm joking, man. I think that this is going to be a great fight. It's a banger in Miami. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Who are you picking to win this fight? I will see you next time.